it was tough because I didn't speak a word. Freedom is when I don't have to laugh at my boss's joke. Whatever cute concept you have, whatever you think is good for you, it's not necessarily good for your customers.
Just to get his family to leave Hungary at that time was like a bureaucratic nightmare, wasn't it?
I mean, if you're in if you're in the academic world, or if you're in the scientific or academic world, it's not an issue. So if you're going to or you're invited at a university to teach, I assume it would be an easier way to get there. I don't think it was an issue for us at that time.
Sure.
I understand what you're saying. To travel as a tourist, it was obviously
Okay.
if it's different. You could travel, I don't know, once in 5 years or once I
Yeah,
don't
something
know.
like that. Or to Greece or, something
Yeah,
like
or
that.
or you
where-
could go
yeah.
to the ex-communist countries easier.
Yeah.
Yugoslavia, it was like in the middle. So yeah,
But I didn't realize there was relationships with U.S. universities and Central Europe at that time.
well, you should ask my father. He could be a next guest.
Okay.
We just got the opportunity, and we went. So he was good at what he's doing. Probably, I know he's been to the States earlier, so he already. Okay, what's a big thing is he already went to the States in 73, 74.
Oh, wow.
So he already got some sort of opportunity to visit university as well. So I guess he kept those relationships. I don't know how it goes, but the Fulbright scholarship it still exists today.
Yeah,
It's a long lasting system. So I don't know. He got lucky.
And what did he do? What did he?
He's a professor of linguistics.
Okay.
So he's it's quite it's for me today. It's awkward. He was probably teaching American to Americans, right? So I mean, at a scientific level, at a grammar level. So
Yeah.
he's a professor of linguistics. So don't ask me what that is. He's teaching about language, or whatever.
And do you think that obviously going there and learning English almost with a native accent, to be fair?
Yeah, it was tough because so I went straight from Hungarian kindergarten to U.S. school, right? So I didn't speak a word. So I got there in September, and as I was told, I didn't speak a word until December, and in January, boom, I started speaking English, and I started communicating with my classmates. So yeah, so at an early level, it's I guess it goes pretty fast.
Sure. And you move back to Hungary, you go to university, or finish high school, go to university.
Yeah, I mean, after that, after returning from the U.S. twice, from that, language was pretty easy for me. So I got my state exams pretty fast, easily. I got into high school more or less easily. I always say, like, whatever I reached so far in my life, math and English, these were the two basic knowledges or skills that could take me through my life or make the bumps easier.
Yeah.
Because even today in Hungary, if you speak fluent English, you kind of have an advantage to a lot of people.
Yeah, because obviously the business environment's all English, no
Yeah.
matter, even in Germany. So
Yeah, German or English, but yeah, like any kind of conversation that needs to be done in English. I was always okay, leave it to him. He can do it. He speaks English. Push the English speaking guy. So it was always like that. So getting into high school, getting into college, these two skills were mainly the reasons I could achieve these. So anyone I talk to, I always say, like, if I get the opportunity to send or take my children to either U.S., U.K., any English-speaking country, I would definitely do it, because even today I think it's a huge advantage.
okay.
Not just to learn to speak the language, but to get a view of the world, to get a mentality.
Mindset maybe. Is there a difference in thinking processes from like the U.S., U.K. to Hungary?
Obviously, yes, but what I'm thinking about is just generally getting
The
a
exposure.
sense of other countries existing. Of course, today, okay, we have the internet, so you probably get a sense, but actually living there, actually connecting with other people, other cultures. Even today, I think if you you get to know that in person, I think it's still a huge advantage. So, but yeah, mostly the language.
Okay. So you come back to Hungary, you graduate high school, you go to university,
Yeah,
but you don't go
college.
to yeah. Is there a difference?
Yeah.
Okay. College, but you don't go for linguistics.
No, no. I never had those aspirations. I mean, I went to, I went to an economic college. I studied marketing, total quality management, but these were kind of determined by my skills, right? So I never was the guy who was like, okay, I knew since age 7 that I want to be a dancer or I want to be a physics professor or whatever. I was like, okay, these are my skills. Where do these get me, right? I was kind of, just, drifting or whatever. And so I get into college, I graduate, and I just, I kind of, parachute into a international advertising agency, which at the time I had no clue what it was. I mean, I thought they were doing advertisements, but, I was like, okay, now I'm here. Okay, what now? So, I just started working in advertising, actually creating commercials, campaigns as
But like writing the scripts and
no,
producing.
so it's like mainly two departments. There's the creative
Mhm.
department and there's the account department. Accounts are, the client service
Client.
basically, or gathering the information, creating maybe the strategy. And there's the creative department, creating the ads, creating the scripts or the copies. So, I just end up there and that's how I started, working.
Did you like it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, at that time and even I guess today, it's the atmosphere. I could describe it as like you're still going to college, but now you have to work. So now you're not studying, you're working, but the atmosphere and the people and the whole feeling is similar. It's like it's a very not so strict environment. It's you can dress anywhere and any way you want.
You have to wait till 5 for beer pong, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I got into at the time. I think I got into one of the best agencies. It was a French agency, Publicis, and it was a it later it turned out to be a very good school on teaching you how to work, how to do this,
Processes.
how yes processes,
Yeah.
and how to start doing you do study like business emailing at university or college, but it's different in life. You start learning how to communicate officially and professionally. Um, you start using invoicing and finances. You start to get to know what that is. So it was a very good agency at that time, and even today actually it's even better now. So it was like 80 to 100 people, so it was pretty
Yeah.
huge.
Wow.
And even though it was like a very friendly environment, so you kind of immediately thought that this is kind of half family, half friends. A lot of young people. um it was a very professional environment as
Mhm.
well, so you could learn pretty good pretty fast. Even after, I think after a year, I found myself in Prague shooting a commercial for L'Oreal, which was a big thing at that time. So for me it was.
Yeah. We met in 2014
Yes,
on
correct.
Ironman.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You were the race
Race
director.
director, yes.
How did you go from advertising to that?
Yeah, so
What's the time frame? I guess would be the first
yeah, I
question,
mean,
right?
I started around, yeah, '03 probably with the advertising, and I did that for a few years. And actually, the first time I, I I properly get fired, I only got once. It was actually a different agency at that time. It was called Ogilvy, and I got fired by one of my bosses. That's a long story, but the
Is it a
point
good
is,
one?
yeah, it's kind of a good
Yeah.
one. I
Is
can
is
tell.
it Does it contribute to your successes now?
Absolutely.
Then let's
Yeah.
talk about it. Let's dig into
Okay,
it.
so I was working at one of these okay, one agency. You can guess which one. And we had a boss who was pretty demanding in a weird way. So I don't want to address her or anything, but okay, now you know it's a her.
I mean, like ball gags and stuff like that, or what?
No, anyway, so we didn't get along, and a lot of people didn't get along. But eventually, she wanted to fire me from that agency. That didn't work out. She tried to talk to our bosses, and it didn't work out. So I stayed there, but got under a different supervision. And so time passes by, time flies. I get to another agency. I start working, and I'm on probation, right, or this
Sure, yeah.
traineeship or whatever. And in a month or two, this my ex boss arrives, right, as my new boss at that new agency, which the chances were pretty slim, right?
Yeah.
And so, and one of my coworkers said, like, "Hey, Tommy, you know who's going to be our new boss?" And I goes, I don't know who. Like, it's her." I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll start packing." And I didn't have to wait too long. So a week or two passes by, and my phone rings, my internal phone, and I see the name. At that time, we had these internal
Yeah,
phones,
yeah.
and it's her. And like she's like, "Okay, can you come down to the main office? I want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh, sure." And okay, they're sitting there, the three of them, like the MD, her, the financial director, like, we think that, we have to part ways now. And okay, I said, where do I sign? And, I sign. So that was okay. And then what happens is that I get a call from my previous workplace, the place I started at, and that they're looking for an event manager. And I'm like, okay, what is that? I didn't know at that time. And so they hire me as event manager. I start working in it, and it turns out pretty fast that I love this, and this is what I should be doing. So what I was doing previously, I kind of enjoyed it, but I didn't know where it would get me, or where
Sure.
it was going. And but doing event management, it turned out that this is what I want to do. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm should be doing. Problem solving. Stress. Moving around countries or counties or whatever, traveling. So ever since I was doing this.
So your attraction to events is just chaos. It's the control chaos perspective.
Yes, yes and no. I mean, I enjoy preparing. I enjoy setting things up as much as you can. But now after 17 or 18 years, I know that you can only plan 95%, 90,
Sure.
95 or whatever. There's always 5 or 10% that's going to be a surprise, that's going to be a disaster. You have to sort out something. It's going to be a medical emergency or whatever.
Which time? It's the Murphy's Law, right? Like,
Yeah.
No plan survives first contact.
Yeah. So and also, like, there's a will, there's a way. So one way or the other, you're gonna solve it.
Yeah, but that's a very interesting mindset that most people don't have, right? That there's no problems, only solutions kind of approach.
Yeah. Yeah, because you generally in life, I mean, okay, yes, yeah, because usually there are people around you who do it for you, or you order a service, or your family member does it, or so generally, you're just kind of like, going through life on an easy level, and you don't have to do these things. But when you're put in there that you have to sort it out, or you have to fix it, and you're the responsible, and there's a time, there's a time frame you have to do it. So
Sure.
like the event is on like X date, X hour, or whatever it's going to start, if you like it or not. So you have to sort it, you have to solve it.
And what so you went back to this company, when we started working together, you were with Ironman, so you obviously, it was a different company at that point, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So you kind of left that company, moved on, started progressing up,
Yes.
more senior positions, things like that.
Actually, yeah, I had one more. I had one more employer after that. It was a Hungarian agency. I learned a lot there as well. So they had huge events, and actually they already had like a good system of how to do events, how you plan a script, how you plan out a complete event. And obviously you get to know a lot of vendors, a lot of suppliers that you get to get familiar with. So yeah, and after a few years, I got this opportunity from the Hungarian organizers of Ironman, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
2014.
Was that the no? See, that was the year the prince came, right?
Yeah,
And then the
yeah, yeah,
next
yeah.
year was the death. Is that what it was?
Um, there
Or the
was
two
a
deaths? Or
no. I
what?
think yeah, there was a fatal incident in the
Yeah.
first one as well. There was a swimmer and a runner,
Yeah, that's right.
respectively.
Yeah.
So, but I think the prince came in the first year. The Prince
Yeah.
of Bahrain. Yeah, that was awkward.
Yeah. Why? Come on, it was easy.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
He's just an athlete.
exactly. With an entourage. Um, but that was like hell week for you because I mean, my experience with you was like you didn't sleep for a week.
Yeah, it seems so.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
so
it was. I mean, it was a huge leap. So, in terms of
yeah.
responsibility and roles and whatever.
And you were building everything not from scratch because Iron Man had protocols, but
Yeah, I
still
mean,
you're trying to
you
build
do get
everything.
a let's call it a guidebook,
Yeah.
like, but it's just I wouldn't call it a guidebook. It's rather like a shopping list or a
Yeah.
checklist. Like, you have to have this and this and this and this, but exact dimensions, exact sizes, exact specifications are not necessarily scripted. It's just just make it happen. It has to be
Sure.
there, and you kind of have to sort out yourself how and where you build those structures or
Yeah.
whatever.
How important is a checklist to a company like podcast studio, shooting range, coffee shop? For me, it's from a military perspective, it's very important, right? Because it becomes where I don't even have to think. It's just fences are up, check. Uh, Permission for the run route, check. How important to you is that?
I mean, events differ a lot. So, if we're talking clients and agency, I mean, some clients have a checklist because they have a specific imagination or
Sure.
idea of what they want to see.
More so about the success on your side.
Yeah, on my side, it's extremely important.
Okay.
So, we do checklists. We do a workflow.
Yeah.
Workflow, I guess, is the most important because you have to see how each another vendor builds after or on or under or whatever each other. So, at the beginning of my career, I ran into this not a lot, but a few times that you just you just have everyone, you just come on that date, right?
Sure.
And there's like just okay, extreme example, like you have a carpeting company, and then you have like a furniture company, right? So you don't want the furniture company to be there in the morning because it takes like whatever 6 hours to put down all the carpet, right? What you're going to put on everything else, basic thing. But
Yeah.
for some people this might be not so reasonable or understandable. So yeah, so you definitely need like a very detailed workflow, and the more detailed that is, the safer you are. And we're talking about 90 or 95% of planning. Your workflow is your plan. So as much detail you can put into that, it will make it easier for you. And thinking about like plan B, what if something happens to you, or you're
Sure.
hit by a bus or a truck, or you just give that workflow and the contact list, not anyone else, but to
You're
one
number two or
to
something.
someone who
Yeah.
knows about events, and they can more or less navigate with that. So you do it for yourself as well, because it's a double check if you thought about everything and you have everything in place, and if you thought about everything, because this is something that you need to do, think about everything, right?
Mhm.
So your client expects you to think about every. He doesn't want to think about, are we gonna have two computers at registration or whatever, or are we gonna have enough speakers? It's you that has to think about everything. That's why you're hired. So
Right. And how do you? I mean, obviously, events is a very dynamic and fluid environment. I mean, where, like you said, it's 90% solved, but the 10% is really chaos.
Could be.
Priorities of work, conflict management, all these different aspects play into it. Where did you learn these skills?
I think it's just, it's just the years and the routine. I mean, there were some milestones that taught me a lot. So I forgot to mention one agency. There was also a Hungarian company I worked for, unfortunately only for a year, that was organizing a Red Bull Air race, not just in Hungary but also around the globe. And that was, of all my workplaces, that was the most professional environment. Obviously, it was set up in, by then it was going for 7 years. So they already had a 7-year experience organizing, I don't know, 50 races or whatever. But to date, that was the most professional and established system of planning events that I have seen so far. So
Because it was already established, or
it was
so it's just basically checklist.
checklist, workflow, way of thinking. What you ask, like, what do you do in case of emergency? You have a plan for every aspect or every opportunity. So that was the most professional that I've ever been to as an employee. And I learned there a lot. I think I only spent there a year, but just looking into this system and understanding how they work, I think it added a lot.
But it was
So
probably boring
yes, it was very boring. Yeah.
because, I mean, it's just like you go in, A, B, C. There's controlled chaos, but nothing.
Okay, so there, I had two roles there. So I was part of the organizing team for the Hungarian event because the air race was also held in Hungary. But we were also doing security supervision for foreign races. So with a team of Austrian, there was an Austrian-based company doing security for Red Bull Air Race, and we flew out to U.S., Brazil, Germany to do security briefing for the local security companies, right? So, I mean, you can imagine briefing Brazilian security staff speaking a lot of languages.
Yeah.
That was very easy and boring in an environment that is, you don't know what to expect, right? So Brazil was you have the organizing area called compound. This is
Yeah.
the race compound. Like Brazil was the only venue where we had like armed guards because
It's
obviously
Brazil
it's
because they
Brazil.
speak Portuguese there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was, I mean, but that was one of the exciting parts. So, but also, I mean, going to Detroit. Okay, I know it's
You didn't
worse
have
to
wait. You didn't have armed guards in Detroit.
no,
Okay,
no. I don't know. It's surprising, but
they
not.
don't like you.
That was 14 years ago.
Oh, maybe.
So yeah, but that was like a very exciting part of this journey because you get to fly there. You're just put there like, okay, here's the brief, do it, and like you're there. Okay, I don't speak Portuguese, and some of their supervisors talk or speak basic English, but there are like pretty strict protocols and rules that you need to explain to these people and
Yeah.
make it work. And so that was kind of a challenge, but I'm here, I'm back, so
Yeah, you
it
made it.
worked out. I made it.
Yeah, it's actually what I found pretty interesting with you through our experiences was like your um, stress management and how you handled the stress and just kind of reach the obstacle, solve the obstacle, and keep moving forward. And it's for me, it's like as a and we'll get into this shortly with an entrepreneurship, but like someone is starting a coffee shop or a bar or a restaurant or a hotel or whatever, and it's just like you just have to expect there's going to be problems. There's no easy solution to every problem. It's always going to be something, whether it's a governmental regulation or employee issues or all these different things. And you find quite often, especially as the company it starts to grow where they're trying to, do we have HR net or not? Do we have legal or not? And so as a small company and growing, it's just like, how do I manage all these different things? How do I solve these problems? Stuff like that. And what I found interesting with you was kind of like you were always positive attitude, move forward, and that for me that's not a common trait.
My boss there at Ironman told me, and that's a sentence that stuck with me, that anything happens, anything you do, you, the race director, you need to stay calm, because as long as everybody else sees that you're calm, they're calm as well,
Yeah.
right? So the people around you, or the people who you're briefing, or you're responsible for, as long as they see you, you have everything in hand, and and you keep your calm, they're gonna stay calm. As the moment you lose it, everybody else is losing it, and then everything will go sideways. Not just the race, but every other service. So I was just trying to stick to this,
Sure.
and at that time, I think I already had a mindset, because I was already doing events for a few years, that seriously, if there's a solution, we're going to find it. So just focus, never focus on how we got here. Never focus on why did this happen. It just fucking happened. You have to solve it. You just stop looking for responsibles, whose fault it was. It doesn't matter right now at this moment. You just have to fix this in the shortest possible time, right?
Yeah.
So and I think ever since I was trying to think like this, or this mentality stuck with me, or I'm trying to live by this code, or whatever you want to call it, because this is what we do. Because events are live, so it's happening then and there. You don't have time to just comparing it to let's go back to advertising. In advertising, you can always go back to the studio. Okay, let's do this.
Retake.
Retake it. Films, movies, TVs. You can edit it 1,000 times. Anything that goes on air, either print or TV or movie, it's been controlled, and it's been
Manipulated.
been manipulated 1,000 times, and like 500 people got an A-OK on that. Okay, this can go on air. That doesn't exist in events. You're there to give the A-OK, right? So it's like, it's up to you if this is ready and live, and it's like 7 a.m. August
3, 2, 1,
whatever,
go.
swim start. It's gonna happen, you like it or not. So and this is the stress factor that you're talking about, and that people who don't really know events, or don't understand really events, like, what's the big deal? You just have to order this and this and that,
Put
and
a fence
just
up.
put a fence up, and just go. And
Yeah.
okay, I'm not, and just not going to start explaining.
Yeah, but it's the quiet professional, right? I mean, it's the magician behind the scene, the curtain, like Wizard of Oz, pulling the strings and making everything beautiful.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and being there. If something goes sideways, you have to be there and start. That's where your work starts, right? So,
exactly.
funnily, I always say, if you've prepared everything great, your phone doesn't ring.
No.
Right. So if you've done your job perfectly, which never happens, your phone doesn't ring.
What was your thoughts when we were missing a swimmer, right?
Yeah. I mean, my first thought was okay, I'm gonna open my okay, so people who don't know, when I was doing race direction, it's like you're not like running around the courses and with your radio. I was sitting in an office, of course, with radio and mobile connection to everyone else, and I'm waiting for calls, because you have to make decisions, right? So, and that happened. So swim course director calls in, like, okay, oh my god, here's a guy, he had to take him out of the water, he's he passed out. Okay, keep your calm. Race is going on. Are the medicals there? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Okay, let them do their job. Okay, the race is going on, and now medical taking over. I open my laptop and I start, taking notes, because that was kind of a hunch. You're asking, like, how do I know, or what do I know? That was just a hunch that I probably need to do. No one told me that you're gonna, okay, if there's an incident, do this and this and this. I was like, okay, this probably needs to be booked or reported or whatever to authorities or Ironman or whatever. So yeah, I just start taking notes, like, okay, what happens when? And it turns out that I did that right because, Ironman said, okay, this is the way you have to, deal with these things.
So they
So
changed the process because of your.
they didn't change it because it turns out that actually in the U.S. there is a system for this, but since Ironman Europe was not as not as old agents, I don't know why they didn't take over these protocols or why maybe they did. Sorry, I don't know. Maybe they already have, but at that time we didn't have these kind of systems or whatever. So I just kind of did it by myself.
How'd you come up with that? Just like,
I
fuck, I have to.
Yeah. It was just a hunch. It was just a hunch. Like, okay, this probably needs to be done. So I start doing it, right?
Yeah.
And then
Took the initiative.
yeah. And it later on it came in handy that I did this. So
Cool. Ironman races are done.
yeah,
Maybe starting again someday in the future. Who knows?
yeah.
You moved on.
Yeah. So Ironman was kind of canceled in Hungary for
Few years,
certain reasons, and I move on to Sziget, which was or still is one of the largest music festivals in Europe, and I landed there as well. We can call it event manager or technical manager. My role was technical manager, which is basically the event managers for Sziget. So it's you're responsible for setting up the thing.
Sure. How'd you like that?
It was good,
Yeah. Fun, challenging
both.
personalities.
Mm,
Did you deal with the singers and stuff, the bands?
No, that's booking.
Okay.
That's talent management or booking or whatever. No, it's the same. You just deal with the vendors, international
Okay.
and local. So it's basically from an infrastructure side,
Yeah, but you're
setting
building out
up.
VIP, everything, right? The
Yeah,
whole infrastructure.
anything that's tent, fences, utilities, power, sewer, drain, toilets, whatever, so all the infrastructure that you need for this
Sure.
this festival. Well, yeah, obviously the magnitude is different, right? So it's once again, I didn't learn any new systems there because uh, what makes it a bit easier, okay, I wouldn't call it easier, but comfortable, is that you set up Sziget in a very long period of time, right? So you don't have the time frame like for any other, like large
Sure.
event, like, okay, setup starts this date and you end, 5 days later or whatever. So Sziget is basically built for a month, right?
Yeah, you guys shut the island down like in
Mid
July
July.
or
Yeah.
something.
So you start like the first actual fences are set up mid July. So like you have a lot of time to set it up, and like you order a vendor like, okay, you're coming 1st of August. Oh, he calls. I'm coming tomorrow. Is there a problem? No, come tomorrow. So like it's like not as strict in this way. It's not as strict as like a whatever an indoor event or like a award ceremony or whatever you want to call it, because you have a lot of time and there's of course you have to have right. So
Yeah.
it's so large, it's so huge that you can't it's impossible to plan it like on a day-to-day basis, right? Because you have weather, you have a truck can be stopped at the border or whatever.
Yeah.
So you have to have these fail safes, right? So you have to have a couple of days extras. But so back to the systems. There I didn't learn anything new as a system or workflow wise. It's just that you get to know a lot of new vendors, a lot of new suppliers, and you make new connections, make new friends. It was a good journey. I liked it.
But okay, I mean, let's go into like relationship building, network building. I mean, that's like your job full time.
Mm,
Basically, is just like reaching
yeah.
out to new vendors, finding out, evaluating who, what, when, where, why, and how, and do they fit the model you're looking for, plus the pricing and stuff. And then you carry that forward.
Yeah.
You did Siget for a number of years.
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Not very challenging, obviously.
It was not really challenging because compared to being a race director and here, okay, there was a decision I had to make. I didn't tell you. So after Ironman, I got a job proposal from Ironman that I could either, well, not either. I could go to Hawaii to
Yeah, I
do
remember that.
Ironman 70.3 Hawaii as race director, and I got a job offer from Sziget, right? So I was there, like, okay, do I fly over to the other end of the world, doing the same thing, race direction, or do I start something new? In position or as a role, maybe lower because you're not a director now. You're not, but the system, the event is huge. It's enormous. It's like one of the largest events in Europe. So do you want to stick with doing Ironman, which is also big, and of course it's I don't want to make it look any smaller, but Sziget is Sziget, and it was a challenge to make the decision, but I picked Sziget because I thought that, on a long term here in Hungary, and if I want to stay here in Hungary, that would help me more
Sure.
than working, in Hawaii, which obviously looks good on your Instagram or your CV. But I made this call, and I stick with local.
Not a bad call,
Yeah, the years prove it, I guess.
because now you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah, and that started after Sziget, so yeah, probably it was a good choice at then. I didn't know at the time, but now I would say it was a good
And it's
choice.
pro events.
Pro Event Productions, yeah. Pro Event was already taken, so
Oh yeah.
we had to add Productions.
Have you taken them over yet and bought their domain yet?
No,
No. Okay.
I mean the domain is mine, but the name is not. So as a legal entity, so yeah. After Sziget, during Sziget, I was already considering taking this step, but
How come? Why?
Mm.
Why? I mean, let me caveat it with, like, there's a lot of people in the world, you and I, I know, that like the safety security of an established something, company, whatever. So to go out on your own is kind of it's a leap of faith, right? Especially you opened and then like a year later, COVID kicked off or something like that.
yeah. Well, before we opened, before
okay.
COVID, so it was even
No,
worse.
you got your office. I remember that.
Yeah.
You got your office.
Yeah, we had our office. So, listen, it was. I mean, starting an event business the way we started it. It doesn't, I didn't consider it to be a too huge risk because it was like, okay, let's try, and worst case, I'm going back to be employed, right? So it's not like you have to invest like millions or billions or whatever, because you invest your network and your know-how. That's the two things you invest, because you to start it small, you don't even need an office, right?
Yeah, but it's also your brand as that there's capital in that as well. I mean, so like, so there's a big.
Yeah. That's the leap of faith part,
Yeah.
right? But okay, you are risking a bit yourself, but you're not risking like capital or
True.
or money, because you just you started. And I remember our first job, and it was like medium size, so we had to deliver like a huge amount of actually technical equipment. So there was a bit of technical know-how, but also we just have to deliver technical equipment to a shooting, and it turned out well. Basically, it already gave us some capital to start working, so we had our own budget to pay ourselves.
Sure.
For a couple of months or a year, maybe, I don't know. And so we started salesing quickly, and it worked out fast. And then COVID came, so we had to hold a break then. But after COVID, it started,
You suspended the company during COVID, or
basically. I mean, in a legal way, no, but as services, yes, as operations, yes. So I think at that time, I went to work to Puskás, the stadium. Because even during COVID, events were allowed to be held at Puskás, so I was being there basically as an advisor / project manager, And after COVID was over, we rented an office again and started working again on our clients.
And what was the catalyst for you deciding to fuck off the businesses? I want to find my own route. I want to build my own path. I want to
Mm.
build my own destiny, everything.
Well, that's a long procedure, right? So it's well, if you're born a businessman or the son of a businessman or an entrepreneur, it kind of it makes
Makes sense.
sense.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. So my parents are employed, right, or were employed. So it kind of was a process. There were a couple of milestones in my life that added to this. Uh, Probably the first I can remember is just one sentence. That was I was working at an advertising agency, a Hungarian one, and there was a brainstorming. We were doing a campaign for T-Mobile, and there was this brainstorming with 8 to 10 people in a room, and so their creative director goes like, "Okay, now I want everyone to say what they think about freedom. What does freedom
Mo
mean to
Gibson.
you?" William Wallace. And people go, with the average answers like driving a convertible on the beach, and I don't know, skiing on I don't know Mont Blanc or whatever. And so, okay, the circle closes, and the creative director goes like, okay, for me, freedom is when I don't have to laugh at my boss's joke, and it just hit so hard. Uh, I mean, everybody, it just kind of froze the room because it was so. Of course, he's a boss, right, as well, and he goes with this sentence, and it stuck with me for years, even to date. I remember it, and it was maybe it was the first, it was the first sentence that struck me like, hmm,
And of course, everyone laughed.
including me. Yeah, I don't think. No, I think they didn't laugh. It was a strong.
No, but truth is truth, right? It's
Yeah.
profound.
And so yeah, and then years go by. I end up, I always, I also heard from my father a lot. I mean, okay, he's a okay scientist slash linguist, or so he's an academic, and he always told me like, never, so what was his message? How should I put this? So like, always keep your integrity, always, stand up to stand up to yourself, try to be individual as possible. And he kind of also gave me a couple of messages that pushed me in this direction. He never told me like, son, become a businessman, son, become, completely individual or whatever. But he kind of sent me these messages that it's always better if you're your own boss. So that kind of took me along as well. And when you're working at an event agency, you kind of understand the procedures. You kind of always look around and see things and understand things, and you're like, this doesn't seem so complicated. Maybe I could do it myself. You start thinking about this like, okay, it's like you, you don't see anything so complicated, or there's no secrets like like in a I don't know, like in a phone facility. The software and the technological things, and it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's clients, it's vendors,
But
suppliers.
each event's going to have obviously different intricacies and things like that. So you're still having to, I would imagine, you're still having to find new vendors and best practices.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff.
it's up to you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something if you believe in yourself, you can handle that. You don't need anyone else for that, right?
True.
It's something that you can do, and opposing to like, okay, I have this great application idea, and it's gonna be this and this and that's, but you need someone who codes that, right? You
Right,
need
exactly.
someone you are really relying on, and actually he has a much better know-how than you because you have an idea.
From a technical perspective, right?
Yeah,
But from a visionary and risk and
yeah,
drive,
but
those are
you
different
can go
things,
fuck
right?
your vision without him.
True.
and with events, it's up to you. Your vision, you can deliver your own vision, right?
Yeah, but you have to sell your vision to the client too. So it's kind of like the
But I
conversation
know
we were
how
having
to deliver,
offset,
and
right?
I can deliver,
Yeah,
and I rely on people that I know because your network, and I'm talking about your
sure.
vendor network. You know that you trust them. You know that you can rely on them, and of course, I understand what you're saying, that they also have a know-how that you don't, but that know-how is interchangeable. And if for some reason they disappear, you can substitute it tomorrow. If you have like a coding guy disappear, you have half a year of job gone,
Yeah.
or as far as I
Yeah,
understand.
what I was, I guess what I was trying to say more so was like your ability to build the story to sell to the client in order to sell the event or to make the event happen, So it's like your vision of this, you take their brief and you dissect it and you say,
Yeah,
I
I
want to do
understand
this,
the concept.
Yeah, the concept.
Yeah, that's up to you. Yeah,
So, but
yeah.
it's also, it's like, I like to draw and stuff, but I'll never be an artist, right? It's just one of those things. So,
Believe in yourself.
believe in myself. Kumbaya. So, okay, you've started building your company. It's obviously relatively doing pretty good. Um, you're having some changes in life now because you have a family and stuff, and it's like priorities of work and it's conflict of interests and all these different things with, family life and work life and balance and all that. Um, where do you want to go in the future? I mean, what's your idea? You keep doing this?
Well, it's kind of hard, right? Because right now, what I would say and what I tell people is like, if you ask me how are you, I'm saying I'm balanced, and I'm everything is good right now. But I put in as much effort in the company as I and can, and I want to make it grow. I have time for family. I have time for friends. Not much, but some. But obviously, if you want your company to grow, you have to break that balance, right?
Sure.
Because it's not going to grow if you're balanced. So it's kind of a weird situation now. Right now, I just want to enjoy this as it is, and maybe in a half a year or a year, it's going to change. But I think right now I could manage this. What
Sure.
what's right now.
What advice would you give someone that wants to become an entrepreneur?
Okay, you probably need a vision, right? So
Sure.
so you need to understand what you want to kind of reach, and vision is obviously, vision is a very wide term. So okay, but what is vision? I mean, you have to have some sort of a skill set in yourself that you understand that you have, and to make that convert into something that's going to happen in the future, and
Valuable.
on the way earn some money, right? So
Yeah.
basically, this is what we're talking about. What I'm always telling I mean, okay, that could be like a motto. I always say, like, okay, let's do fucking great events, and by the way, earn some money. So my main goal is not always, okay, let's rip off the client and get rich tomorrow. I always say, like, okay, let's make the best of this. Let's try to make what's possible, make a fucking great event, and by the way, earn some money. And kind of works. It kind of works. So back to the what I would suggest is yeah. I mean, I need to think about that.
Well, you
I
have
don't. Yeah, 2 days.
no. I mean, it's
Um,
it's it's about belief in yourself, belief in what you can do, and also the creating value part. Because that was like after leaving the military and contracting work, I really was struggling with myself because I was like, what do I do? What do I do after I
yeah,
had purpose? I had teams. I had all these different things that were like perfect for me in an environment that needed. But then when I stepped away from that, it was like, fuck, now what do I do?
Yeah, because
Right.
Uncle Sam doesn't tell you what to
Yeah,
do
exactly. So
after.
now it's like, oh, okay, great. I have freedom. I have opportunity. I have skills. I have hopes, dreams, expectations, all these different things. And, as you know, now get into this entrepreneurship, not just getting now, but now it's more profound. Um, I could never go back to a company. I could never go
Hmm.
back to a corporation. I could never go back to the government. I could never go back to anything. It would just be like, it's too oppressive because you're just a cog in the wheel. There's a hindrance in the solution. Whereas now you go to work every day and it's on you to make or break, with payroll, with next steps, with value creation, vision,
Yeah.
strategy, all that, So it's like every day you're solving 100 problems. And, there's times where it gets old, but there's also at the end of the day, you go home and you're kissing your kids goodnight and whatever,
Hmm.
and you're crawling into bed and you're like, okay, I did something today of value for me or my employees or my company or my brand or whatever.
Yeah, once you own a business, it's different because yeah, everything you do it for yourself, for your family, for your business, and it's a completely different mindset because you never feel that it's wasted time or wasted or why am I here or who am I working for or some investor in New York or
Right.
Paris or whatever at the end of the day. So yeah, and also. When once you start doing a business or owning a business, it's I don't know if it's a weakness or strength, but you inherently start thinking about new businesses, right?
Yeah, of course.
And even when your own business is not still perfectly developed or on a perfect growth path or whatever, you can't help yourself and like think, okay, what if I started this? And what if I started that? And it's happening to me every day
Yes,
because
absolutely.
like, okay, should I do this? Should I jump into this? It seems like a good opportunity, right? Okay, but then what happens to my other business? And I talked about balance just a minute
Yeah.
ago. Like, how do you deal with that? Okay, now I'm doing great. Everything is perfect. Why would I start this? But I want to. It's sort of like the ring.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset perspective, right? Where you get into a position, I don't want to call it comfortable because that's not true, but you get into a mindset where now you're problem solving. And events is a prime
Yeah.
example, right? Where you're always problem solving. Where now you're in this mindset of problem solving, where now everything in life is a potential problem or has potential problems. Kind of like AWOL, it's like we had the shooting range, and we were spending like $10,000 a month on ads that was being destroyed by click fraud, and Google's response was, good luck, we're
Mm.
not refunding the money. And it was like, hey, wait a minute, fuck you, we entrusted in the system, we got fucked out of $40,000 in the system, and now we're coming up with a new concept that, like, how
Mm.
do we help small businesses and stuff like that. So to go back to your question, or your statement is, like, I think you just get into this mindset of like, everything in life has a problem, how do I solve it, and then you
Yeah.
prioritize that.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, once you're doing becoming an event manager or event producer, whatever you want to call it, it kind of makes life it kind of makes life easier because you're so used to solving problems, you so used to getting things done that I would say it makes life a bit easier because life's problems become smaller for me at least it seems
Yeah.
so. Even I know what people are going to say, okay, did you try raising three children or whatever? Well, I'm on it, so I'm on it, but I truly believe that this can help you get through these because the sun's going to rise the next day and you're going to sort it out one way or the other. You're going to sort it out.
Yeah, but I think also from my perspective, it's like, believe in yourself. If you want to open a coffee shop or sell trinkets at the basilica, then do it, but do it with 100%, because it doesn't work at 50%, right? It's like not even 100%. I mean, there's no such thing as 110, but it's like
Yeah.
really commit to it, believe in it. So,
Yeah.
so anyways, what advice would you give to an entrepreneur?
Now that we're smarter,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, minimize risks, do research. If you want to open a coffee shop, I would say, okay, let's stick with coffee shop. If I was opening a coffee shop, I would 100% go for location, location, location. I mean,
Okay, Donald Trump.
so I mean, whatever cute concept you have, whatever you think is good for you, it's not necessarily good for your customers or whatever. So I had a friend once who opened a business. I don't want to say what business; it doesn't matter, but and it failed, and and he said that they wanted to deliver a solution for a demand that didn't exist, right? So and he was following his dreams. He really believed in it. He loved what he wanted to do. He opened it in a horrible location. He invested a lot of money in it, and it turned out that there was no demand for that service.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is a valuable lesson that whatever you love, whatever you think you love, or whatever you think people love, that might not be the reality. And you have to think and check and double check and triple check if that's really needed, that service in that particular location or venue or whatever. And try to go around, do our research
Market
again,
research.
and this, if we're talking about still about the coffee shop or any kind of business, it's like, yeah, make sure that it's needed. Make sure
Yeah.
there's okay, we're not talking about iPhone or whatever. So when we're talking about small business, where it's maybe your life savings that's going into it.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, right? It's like I have a love, a passion, a desire to make a Yeti coffee cup. Um, the market isn't really necessarily ready for an expensive coffee cup, for example. But how do I find the solution to the problem, right? Like, how do I attract the market? So, like I had a clothing, where I was designing, t-shirts and stuff, and the problem was it failed. But it taught me a lesson, right? And that's the important part, I think. So anytime a business fails, it's about teaching you as an individual a lesson. Um, and
Yeah.
what I realized was, like, I'm making cool shirts that I like. The same thing
The
your
same.
friend,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
I love my shirts. Oh, these are amazing. The designs, it means something to me, but it didn't resonate with hardly anyone, but to me it was like emotional, passionate,
For
whatever.
you, it was everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you start to realize that, okay, it's not necessarily about what I like, but what the client base, the users like. And but I think that's a valuable lesson for most entrepreneurs, is like, how do you, one, do your research, understand what the market looks like, the competitiveness of the markets and things like that, and then find your niche, kind of thing.
Yeah, and also I think probably, I'm not sure, I'm just guessing, people probably undervalue the power of advertising. So like maybe you could have sold 100,000 Yeti cups, but you have to invest a lot into advertising, right? And maybe, just maybe, people are they undervalue the power of that. That you can love it, you can build it, you can start it, but if people don't know about it, then
Yeah.
you're fucked, right? I don't know how it was with your T-shirts. Did you advertise
Oh
it
yeah,
or?
I was doing Facebook and Google, and it was, the issue was, oh, you had 20,000 impressions, but an impression is basically to saw, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
mean
yeah.
that someone comes to your website, um, but it was a learning experience for me, and again, I'm happy for that experience because it led to what we're doing with AWol and stuff like that. Do you do advertising at all
Yes, we do.
on Google,
Yeah,
Facebook? Okay,
yeah.
how does it work for you?
It works. I mean, okay. how does it work? We do get, we do get clicked, and we do get, we do get briefs from whatever conferences
Okay.
from abroad. So we get some approaches from abroad.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
okay, so in Hungary, it's network. It's completely networking. But from other European countries, we just get clicked on, and we do get a couple of jobs
Kind
from.
of kind of a inquiry like, hey, what can you offer
Yeah.
in
They just
Luxembourg
search. They
or
just
something?
search for agencies. They find us, and they send a brief like, "Can you do this and that?"
But they search for agencies on Google, or you're advertising on Google?
I'm not sure. I gotta ask. We have
Okay.
I have a social media manager. I need to check that, but we do get some
Okay.
hits. So you know, probably it's working. I had a failed business once.
Yeah. What was it?
Actually, that was okay. That we established a company called Wardrobe Media. Can you
Okay.
guess what that is? Make a guess.
Probably like a fashion website.
No, close, but no.
Yeah.
So it was before the economic crisis,
Yeah.
08, 09, or during that maybe. And so we had this great idea. Actually, we saw it in Germany that there was a company that was doing paper hangers. So a coat hanger that's
Yeah.
made out of paper, but it can be fully printed, right? So it's like a 2D
Yeah.
printed.
Yeah.
So it's not just a wire, but
Yeah.
it's a hanger. And the idea was to do some sales for this in dry cleaners, right? So the business idea was to switch the wire hangers in dry cleaners to these paper hangers that are branded. So now you can deliver 100%, basically 100% hit with messages for, I don't know, whatever, what is it called? Washing detergent, or
Okay.
you know
So
and
it's
it,
not like it's because in the U.S. we have this where the wire hanger has the paper over it.
no, this is
Okay.
fully printed, so it's just a paper.
Okay.
It's like cardboard, right? So
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
You can hang a fucking leather jacket on
Yeah.
it, and
Sure.
it can take it. And so there's a dry cleaner network in Hungary. We approached them. They said it's a great idea. We would have we switched the wire hangers. So the business was, he doesn't have to buy the wire hangers, right? We give him for free the
Sure.
paper hanger, which is paid by the advertiser, right?
Advertiser. Yeah.
But we approached a couple of media agencies and some direct clients, and they said, "Oh, this is fantastic! Wow, what a great idea!" But sorry, we don't have the budget for this now. And so we kind of had to close because it was during the crisis, and nobody had. This is what like ambient or niche media, right? So it's something that they cross off first,
Sure.
off the list. So it kind of failed, but I still think it's a great idea.
But it's I mean, I don't consider any of it a failure if you learn from it, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I have to think about it differently. I have to do this. I have to do that. So it's at the end of the day, it's like
Yeah, you either win
fun.
or you learn. Right?
Exactly. Or the worst case is you don't learn and you don't win.
That's called losing.